Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Let's do forensics on our Week 3 picks. Third winning week in a row. We were 2-1. The game I lost on, I took the Jacksonville Jaguars. I took 13.5 points on the road against the Patriots. That bet lost miserably. The other two, we were much more fortunate. I took the Arizona Cardinals -6 against the San Francisco 49ers at home, and I took the Steelers -1 on the road against the Rams. Carson Palmer delivered completely. The Steeler defense delivered completely. Quick takeaways. The Jaguars are an improved team, no question about it, but right now, early in the season, the New England Patriots are an offensive juggernaut. Right? You got a glimpse of the possibilities late in the game when they started pounding the football with LeGarrette Blount. I would encourage you to look up Blount's stats. Right? If everyone stays healthy in New England, given that they now have a nice jump on the rest of the division, right? The Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, they've all lost. New England stands alone at the top of the division. And you have to figure with this, running game. Keep in mind, it's not just Blount. It's the running back Dion, who looked great, and they work well together because Blount gives you a completely different look, right? He's a guy who bludgeons you. The other guy is a guy who makes you miss. You add that in with, the wide receiving core, Edelman, etc., and you consider the fact that Gronkowski lines up all over the field, right? The key part to Gronk's game is the fact that Gronkowski is smart enough to know exactly how to run entire different sets of routes from different parts on the field, right? This is a tight end who's running deep downfield. This is a tight end who can set up left side, can set up right side. If he wants, he can set up as a wide receiver. Right? Folks, that's not going to change. What might change, what might impact the New England Patriots might be injuries and suspensions. Right? Gronkowski does have an injury history. The league right now is trying desperately to get an expedited hearing on the Tom Brady situation. Those are the kind of things you need to look at if you're a Patriot fan. Let me just say this. Keep in mind, everything is breaking the Patriots' way right now. Baltimore is 0-3. Baltimore is one of the few teams that's beaten New England in the playoffs. Right? Baltimore, a real nemesis team. The team against whom the Patriots had to use gimmicks like ineligible receivers and all this other stuff last year in the playoffs. They're 0-3, off to a bad start. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who right now, when healthy, might have the best offense in the entire league. Right? Look at D'Angelo's numbers, running back. Right? Consider the fact that Le'Veon Bell might be the best back in the game right now. It's certainly not Adrian Peterson. Right? And factor in Antonio Brown, who I'm telling you is a first ballot Hall of Famer, with a quarterback who's already won multiple Super Bowls, Big Ben. And you're dealing with a complete juggernaut. The problem, though, is that Ben Roethlisberger, one of the hardest to replace players in the entire league, is now hurt. They're saying he's going to be out a minimum of 4 weeks. They have some very tough games coming up. I have to tell you, I wasn't convinced when Michael Vick took the field yesterday that Michael Vick was ready, that Michael Vick remotely approaches a passable replacement. Right? So, understand, the Niners right now have things going their way. I know Peyton Manning won yesterday. What I want you to do is revisit what the Colts did to Peyton Manning in the playoffs last year. Peyton, in my opinion, has a problem now throwing the ball deep. Keep in mind, that's really a big problem when you consider the fact that the Broncos don't have a great rushing attack. Right? So right now, given all of the injuries, the only other team in the AFC right now that has an argument that they belong in the same sentence with the New England Patriots are the Cincinnati Bengals. Right? And I will say this, unfortunately for the Bengals, they have a history of futility in the playoffs under Marvin Lewis. Don't they? So it's getting very live in the AFC. Let me say this too. Andrew Luck, more picks? Didn't the Colts struggle to win yesterday? I was looking at that box score. I was looking at the numbers. I thought, oh, Luck didn't do that bad. Then I realized I was looking at Marcus Mariota's numbers, not Andrew Luck's. Right? If you're a Colt fan, and I understand they have a lot of new pieces, right? Frank Gore finally looks like Frank Gore, right? Andre Johnson still missing, but it's new. Philip Dorsett finally made an appearance, right? But doesn't seem to get a lot of catches per game. I understand that the Colts are putting it together and that they'll be much more familiar with each other later in the season. But this team's struggling against teams with first-year quarterbacks at this point. And by the way, that's in their win. Right? Maybe the Colts get it together. But it looks a bit dicey to me. Let me say this too. If you're thinking about long shot possibilities down the road, understand that Ryan Mallett has one of the strongest arms in the National Football League. No question about it. Understand DeAndre Hopkins had over 1,200 receiving yards last year. He's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. Understand the best defensive player in the entire league, and I know I'm saying the entire league a lot here, might be J.J. Watt. You want a big pass rush? Just combine J.J. Watt with Jadeveon Clowney. Right now, Houston's finding its way. They have a tough game coming up. Right? Mallett is going to have to find a way to pass for more yardage. Understand their chief running back, Arian Foster, isn't even playing. You saw what Blue did yesterday. Right? Pretty good backup. Pretty deep bench. Given the problems Indianapolis is having, right, and given the talent level on the Houston Texans, you know, the big question is whether Ryan Mallett can grow up enough in his first year, right, protracted year as the starter, right, to actually deliver on the talent. Right? The pieces are there in Houston, just not the history. Right? Clowney was out last year. As talented as Clowney and Watt are, they really don't have a lot of experience playing together. I'm telling you, in this league, continuity matters. Right? Just know the Houston Texans are a loaded bunch. Let me say this too. In my opinion, and I've watched this guy a long time, I'm a Pac-12 guy. Marcus Mariota is really one of the best quarterbacks to hit this league in quite some time. Right? Who would have known that Tennessee's offense would look this good? Folks, look at yesterday's box score. You know what they have this kid doing? They have this kid in the pocket reading defenses and throwing the ball downfield. Now in San Francisco, you're hearing about the team trying to simplify the offense for Colin Kaepernick. Understand, in Tennessee, they're doing the opposite. They're giving this guy the entire offense. And this guy's completing passes. Right? Kurt Warner, supposedly worked with Colin Kaepernick in the offseason to help Kaepernick's game. Understand who Kurt Warner is. Warner's the opposite of Colin Kaepernick. Warner played under Mike Martz. Very complicated offensive scheme. Warner was a guy who would hit everyone in the building with passes. Understand, on the sides you had Torrey Holt and Ike Bruce. In the slot you had Al Hakeem. And with those three wide receivers, Warner somehow found a way to also get the ball on a far above average basis to Marshall Faulk. Right? Understand, when Warner went to the Arizona Cardinals, he had a year where he had 3,000-yard receivers. Right? Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Breaston, and Anquan Bolden. Right? Kurt Warner really does belong in the Hall of Fame. This is a guy who sprayed the ball all around the field. He's the opposite of Kaepernick. Kaepernick is an athlete trying to learn the position several years into his career. Right? You saw the beginning of the Arizona Cardinal game. The Cardinals knew where he was going with the ball with such certainty they were jumping the routes. They had 2 pick sixes for touchdowns. Right? Now, Mariota is different. Right? With Kaepernick, in my opinion, and I'm here in the Bay Area, it's a low ceiling. In my opinion, there's a reason why the team has kept Blaine Gabbert, former first-round pick, former starter in this league, on the roster as one of the league's highest-paid backup quarterbacks, even post Jim Harbaugh. Right? Contrast that with what's happening in Tennessee. Understand, Warner's head coach in Arizona, when he was completing 1,000 yards worth of passes to 3 different receivers, is currently Marcus Mariota's head coach in Tennessee. That's Ken Wisenhunt. Right? You're looking at Mariota in his rookie year. Right now, I'm telling you, this guy's the rookie of the year. If Mariota continues to improve, you're looking at a top 7 quarterback next year. I would argue, for those of us who watched Mariota in college, and I understand the Oregon Ducks didn't huddle and all this other stuff. I understand he wasn't calling the plays. They were being called from the sidelines. Okay. Just to understand that Marcus Mariota today reads defenses better, in my opinion, than Colin Kaepernick. Right? Just to understand that a man who should know Mariota better than most of us, Chip Kelly, was willing to give up the farm to try to move up in the draft to get Mariota. According to some reports, and you'll have to Google it and do some due diligence here, he was willing to give up his starting quarterback, Sam Bradford, to get Marcus Mariota, and understand the pressure Chip's under from the Philly press. Right? He shipped out some players that a very passionate fan base knew had a lot of talent. Right? Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy. You're sending all of these guys out. The pressure's on Chip to win now. And Chip was willing to trade proven talent in this league. Sam Bradford was the first pick in the draft when he came out of college for an unproven rookie. Right? Mariota impresses me. This guy is the real deal. If you have any doubts, compare his quarterback rating for yesterday's game, a game in which he threw for more yards than Andrew Luck. And keep in mind, the Colts were 0-2 and needed the win. Compare his quarterback rating with more yards to Andrew Luck's quarterback rating in yesterday's game. Understand, many people are trying to call Luck the best thing since sliced bread. And look, Luck and I went to the same college. I'm not here hating on Luck or Luck's background, right? Just understand that Marcus Mariota matched him pass for pass yesterday in a must-win game for the Colts. Contrast the two teams, right? Tennessee was so bad last year that they had the second pick in the NFL draft. The Indianapolis Colts made it to the conference finals against the New England Patriots, right? With vastly different personnel. Just understand, Marcus Mariota is throwing the ball, and he's doing so downfield. He's doing so from the pocket. Tennessee's not simplifying the playbook for him. You need to be put on notice. I'm telling you, in the fantasy drafts I'm in, I'm going to have to find a way to make an offer to get this young man, because it looks to me like he's the real deal. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts. My record for week 3 was 2-1. I had the Cardinals -6 over Kaepernick's Niners. I had the Steelers -1 over the Rams. The Rams are a quality team. I just don't believe we all appreciate the Steeler offense, which is a juggernaut, and how good the Steeler defense is. Steeler defense looked great, right? So I won with the Cardinals and the Steelers. I lost with the Jags. You know, I'm a sucker for huge lines in the NFL. The Jags are vastly improved, but the Pats right now are playing the league's best football offensively. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments for all of us here in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.